Welcome to the Resist Average Academy, your source for inspiring stories, lessons, and action steps designed to level up every area of your life. Here's your host, Tommy Baker.
Academy Nation, welcome back to another full-length episode, and we have less than 60 days left of this year, of this decade, and right now is the time where the professionals, the committed, are making bold moves to finish the year, while the amateurs and the dabblers and those that are interested are doing, guess what? They're just coasting the rest of the year. And I know who you are if you're here on the Academy, and today's guest is going to teach you how to be the best in the world. His name is Bo Eason. He put out this amazing book called There's No Plan B for Your A Game. And what I love about Bo is that follows really similar to a Seth Godin linchpin mentality, that this energy of committing to be the best in the world and getting rid of plan B, plan C, and plan D. Because so often what happens, we have backup plans, and our backup plans, the things that we don't want, the things that are third or fourth on our vision, actually become our lives, and that becomes our reality. And to me, that's the great tragedy, that we get to the middle or towards the end of our life and we look back and we, in our most radical, honest moment, we say, I'm living my plan C. What happened to my plan A? And today's conversation is going to wake you up. Bo has an infectious energy, who is an NFL player, NFL safety, a playwright, Broadway playwright, with 1,300 performances, and now he's a motivational speaker, trainer, and author, and he's been 3 for 3 at being the best in the world, and his tactics work. So this conversation is going to wake you up, Academy, to make sure that you finish your year on target, that you finish your year committed, that you don't coast the rest of the year, and you make your own declaration for the thing that you want to be the best at. Whatever that may be, it's that energy that you show up with, and it translates into your actions, your behaviors, your mindset, and ultimately, you do it long enough and your results. Academy Nation, welcome Bo Eason to the show. Resist Average Nation, welcome back to another full-length episode. And as I said in the intro, today we are going to get you clear on what your declaration of commitment is for you to be the best in the world. My next guest is Bo Eason. He is a speaker, author, trainer, and of the recent book, There's No Plan B for Your A Game. I've read it multiple times. There's people in the arena who are reading it. Welcome to the show, Bo Eason.
Thank you, Tommy. It's good to be with you guys.
Absolutely, man. Pumped, and we're going to get right to it. How are you defining success in life and business today?
Yeah, I just think it's the people that are living with complete freedom of expression, like the ones who can really express who they are, where they're going, what their vision is. I think that's true leadership, and I think that's what ultimately takes you to the very, very top of any business, whether that's athletics, whether it's ping pong, whether it's ballet, whether it's in business. I think that freedom of expression, that ability to express yourself, state your vision, state your declaration, and then have that being built around you. I think that's ultimate success.
It's so powerful. Now, within that, that's a courageous, it's a courageous move, because when we put ourselves out there, we're now vulnerable. Like when I make a declaration that I want to be the best in the world, or somebody listening wants to be the best in the world, or you wanted to be the best football player in the world and the best stage artist and now the best trainer, that takes courage, and that can be very scary, and that can put us in vulnerable emotional states of doubt, fear, and uncertainty. How do we overcome that, Bo?
Yeah, that is for sure. So the best way to overcome that is know that that's coming. I think the reason people are blindsided by that fact, is that they don't expect it to come. They don't expect obstacles to come. Well, I know one thing. If I make a declaration to be the best in the world at one thing, whatever it is, I don't care what the discipline is. The principles are all the same. If you make that declaration, guess what you just invited into your life? The very things you just talked about, Tommy. Naysayers, you're vulnerable, obstacles, all of a sudden are in your life where they weren't in your life before that. So as long as you know you're the author and you're the creator of these obstacles because you're the creator of the declaration. Now, if they're of your creation, you know how to circumvent them. You know how to go over them. You know how to go under them. You know how to get around obstacles. They're your creation. I just think everyone pretends that when they're attempting something great, that it's all just going to be peaches and cream the whole way. There's no way that can happen. And I think our society or our culture, our media actually promotes it that way. They actually promote ease and luxury on your way to being at the top. And if you talk to anybody who's ever attempted it, they will tell you there's no way in hell that there's any luxury or any ease all the way there.
No, and I love that, and that's part of the mission, and I just love how you said that. That's part of the mission of the Academy, to go deep into people's real-world stories of challenge, adversity to their mountaintop, because when we look at someone's mountaintop and we have the expectation or the assumption that it was a smooth ride, then when we hit the bump, when we hit the challenge, we're going to say this is not for us, this is the wrong market, I'm not good enough for this. But when we dig into people's story and we go deep enough, we recognize there are so many moments of trial, so many moments of tribulation, so many moments where it was easier to give up, but they kept going anyways. And if they can do it, why can't we?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if you look at examples, like if you just simply look back at your grammar school or high school years, think back of those days. Who was the All-American quarterback at your high school, or the captain of the team, or the captain of the cheerleaders? Typically, not 100%, but those people usually don't go all the way to the top because they've arrived too early. They reached the top of what they thought was the top in high school or in grammar school when it's way too young to reach the top. You can't possibly be at the top. It's the people who struggle. It's the people who were told, no, you don't get a scholarship. You're not the starting quarterback. You didn't make the cheerleading squad. Why do those people always go all the way? Because they're used to obstacles. They're used to being rejected. That's the only reason, is they get to go to the top, and the superstars too early never get to go to the top. That's just how it works. And then think back. So put yourself 20 years into the future, and you're the best in the world at what you declared you wanted to be the best at. So whether that's ballet or whatever it is, saxophone, piano, it doesn't matter. If you're the best in the world right now, so we're 20 years into the future, now look back on those 20 years. Was that an easy trip? Is that a story of luxury and ease? If it is, no one cares. But you have no eyeballs on you. No one cares. No one will help you. If you tell the story of the 20 years of you trying to reach the top of Mount Everest, I can guarantee you there's a bunch of near-death experiences. There's where you had frostbite. There's where there's no way you could go further. There's where the weather showed up and you could not take one step further. There's when you wanted to quit. There's all these obstacles. There's all these things. Yet you're on the top of Mount Everest. And that's a story worth telling. That's an honorable life.
And yeah, that's the hero's journey. That's taking the path into the unknown, into the abyss. That's going to have some dark moments, some nights of questioning, some storms, and it's also going to have incredible moments of really discovering who you are. Like that, to me, that's what that journey does. It really gets us to our razor's edge. And then those moments of resistance, just like you said, if we expect them to show up and we know they're going to be a part of us, we change our relationship with them. We reframe the relationship. They don't become obstacles. They become resistance that can be used as fuel. Just like physical training, we gotta push against our physical capacity to adapt and become better. And so when the obstacle comes up, then it's like, you know what? I got this, because this is actually going to get me to my destination, instead of seeing it as something that's going to keep us from getting there.
Yeah, and every time, look, when I was 9 years old, like think of a 9-year-old little boy, and he makes a declaration that he wants to be the best safety in the NFL, right? So that's going to take many, many years, right? So I was a happy-go-lucky 9-year-old boy. I had no obstacles. I had no fears. I was just fishing and playing army and, going hunting. I was doing all kinds of fun things, right? And then I made a declaration. Now what happened to this 9-year-old little boy? He just introduced a bunch of obstacles in front of his path where the day before he had 0, right? But no one cares about a kid with no obstacles. No one's going to watch that. No one's going to follow that. No one's going to be inspired by it. So you're the creator of your own obstacles, and thank God for it. Because that's the only way that people are going to help you and be inspired by you and keep their eyeballs on you. Because here's what human nature tells us. If there's no conflict in a person, right? So if there's no resistance in a person, you know what human beings do? Look away. We look at them, we say there's no threat there, because that's all we're looking for. We're basically cavemen, and we're looking for threats. If a person has no conflict, if David has no Goliath, you're not going to pay attention to David. But as long as David is putting his nose on the chest of Goliath, you will never take your eyes off him, which is why that story has worked for 4,000 years.
That's so powerful.
You can't, right? And you got to think of yourself as David. As soon as you tap on the brakes and you eliminate your conflict, meaning Goliath, no one pays attention. It's over. No one's going to help you. No one's inspired. And it's not a story. If there's no conflict, if there's no resistance, there is no story.
So true. I love that. Now, your 9-year-old, the thing is, like, as our 9-year-old selves, we allow ourselves to dream big. We haven't had a lot of external influences or trauma or adversity, or teachers tell us that we can't do stuff. We're more likely to be dreamers. Now, as we age, we tend to lose that spirit for some reason. So for somebody listening out there who's been in the trenches of their life, who knows that they've been going down the wrong path, Bo, but who has lost some of that. Now, if they're listening to the show, they have some semblance of it, but how do we get that possibility back without this like justification or qualification on the back end? Meaning, I want to do this, but ... It's not the right economy, or I've 11 years into a financial advising career, or
right.
My third cousin at Thanksgiving said that nobody makes money off this. Like, how do we own the declaration without adding a qualification that lets us off the hook?
I know. Yeah, that's exactly right. If you look at the title of the book, it is "There's No Plan B for Your A Game." Here, we can sum this up in a sentence. And if you just ask yourself this, or it's not really a question, it's just it's a sentence. Think about this. If you're not the best in the world, you have a plan B. If you're not the best in the world, there's a reason why. You have a plan B. And you opted for plan B. So you had too many options. The people that go all the way have 0 options, right? So think about this for a second. So, and I'll totally, if that's upsetting somebody who's listening or watching you guys, I get it. It is upsetting. If you're not the best in the world right now, the reason you're not is you had a plan B and you took it. When you only have a plan A, you always reach plan A. When you have a plan B, you always opt for plan B, because that's human nature. We want to ease up on ourselves, right? So we got to fight that. So think about this. And I'll change my training. I promise you. I'll burn my book. I'll burn all the footage of me training this subject, including this right here, this podcast here. If I'm wrong about this, if you can tell me I'm wrong about this one thing, if this one sentence has ever been uttered from a 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid ever in the history of 7 and 8-year-olds, if this sentence has ever been said, then I will throw away my book and all my training. I'll retire and do something else. Here it is. Did this sentence ever come out of a 7-year-old's mouth? Mom, Dad, hi, I'm your 7-year-old. I have this dream. And the dream is for me to win a silver medal. If you can tell me, and I can say with 100% assurity that that sentence has never been said from a true dreamer, from a true believer in what they've got, what they're made of. Because you're right, after 7 and 8, around 9, 10, 11, 12, we start to have the society influence us, right? And society only promotes mediocrity, right?
Yes.
So if you can tell me that you or anybody else ever said, Mom, Dad, my ultimate dream is to win a silver medal, I will change my training. And here's the point. I have a lot of friends who have silver medals. I have a lot of friends who have bronze medals, and I'm proud of them, and they're proud of their silver medals, and they're proud of their bronze medals, and they're proud of just being in the Olympics and not getting any medal. But it's not what they set out to do. They have silver medals, yes, but it wasn't what they dreamed of. It wasn't their dream. They dreamed and they declared gold. And they didn't get gold, so they were handed a silver medal. And all my friends who have silver medals, I often say to them, hey, guys, I'm proud of you to be your friend. That's a hell of an accomplishment. Can I see or can I hold your silver medal? Or can I have my kids hold your silver medal? Do you know what their response is every time? They say, I guess you guys could hold it if you want. I just don't know where it is. They don't know where their silver medal is. Isn't that crazy? Right? They don't know where it is. I certainly, if they won gold, they would know where that is. It'd be on the wall or on the mantle or around their neck. Isn't that weird that that's how we're made, yet we get so beat up after this age of 9, 10, 11. We get so beat down that we'll just accept any old damn dream. Now, listen, all of you right now who might be upset right now going, oh shit, how am I ever going to do that? Here's what I want you to remember, or rather re-remember, because I know you already know this about yourself. You just haven't been taught it in a while. Remember way back when you were in health class, I don't know what grade they teach that in, where they're talking about the birds and the bees and all, the day of your conception. Remember that day? Remember how embarrassing that was, right? Let's have a little refresher course of what happened on that day, okay? Real quick, just so we remember the stock that we come from. So on the day that you and me were conceived, and everyone that you know on this planet, on the day that you and I were conceived, something happened on that day, and what happened was 300 million sperm were delivered, right? And you were one of them. So it was you and 300 million of your potential brothers and sisters, right? So 300 million of you, and the odds of you winning that race are 300 million to 1. Now, this race is not a casual race. There are no trophies for second place. There's no participation ribbons for 200 millionth place. There's only the winner gets the gold medal, meaning he fertilizes the egg and becomes a human being. Guess who that was? That was you. So if you're going to argue with me about what you're made of, I'm not going to argue against what the media says. I'm not going to argue against what our mediocre society says that you are. Take up the argument with Mother Nature, right? Because as far as I'm concerned, she's undefeated. She's undefeated. And she tells us that we are number one. We're born number one. Now we come into the earth, we come into the atmosphere, and now our whole life we are promoted to and taught that it's not good to be the best. It is actually frowned upon, and it's easier to be mediocre, flying directly in the face of Mother Nature. I will never fly in the face of Mother Nature. While our whole society flies in the face of their own nature and tries to prove that they are mediocre, I'm going with Mother Nature only because she's undefeated. And what does she tell me? She tells me and she tells you that we're number one. That we're number one. And then I think back of that day, right? That day of my conception, the day of your conception. Do you think that was a casual swim? Do you think that was an adult swim, like doing the backstroke? I don't think so. I think it is a swim to the death. Correct? It is a swim, right?
Yeah.
But that's the stock we're made of. And now we're supposed to prove to the world that we're mediocre. I'm not having it.
It's so true, and I'm all in on that. I love that. Undefeated. It's so true. Now, when you're talking about the best in the world, I mean, this mindset, this declaration, the word commitment just comes up time and time and time and time again. And to me, commitment is following through regardless of how you feel, regardless of the weather, regardless of your mood, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of who says what, regardless of critics. I mean, it's a binary line in the cement, all in mentality that you're going to bring it to life no matter what happens. Now, a lot of people say this, Bo. They say that they're committed. They'll say, Tommy, Bo, I'm committed. I'm all in.
Yeah.
And then the first adversity comes and they're ready to jump ship. How do we really cross this chasm that between dabbling and interested and, hey, I'm going to do this conditionally only if it works, and the moment that it doesn't work, I'm getting out of here? Because to me, that's one island, and then there's the island of commitment, do whatever it takes, best in the world, the things that you're talking about here, this mindset. Yeah. How do we actually cultivate that on an energetic level from mind, body, and spirit? Not just something that we say to our friends about a goal that we have, but we actually embody it.
Yeah, I'm going to give everybody the answer to that question because it's a great question. I'm going to answer it like this. I'm going to give you something that is going to happen to you. It's a promise, and it's going to happen quickly right after your declaration. And you've got to start getting uncomfortable. I mean, you got to start getting comfortable, or you got to start getting okay, or you got to be cool with being off course. So the journey to being the best takes many, many years, right? Because we're talking about mastery at an ultimate level. So it takes years to do that, correct? So I'm going to promise you one thing, and this might be a relief to some of you. For 99% of your time on your way to being the best, and once you declare it, just so you know, I've never seen anybody not reach it. I've never seen anybody not be the best in the world if they stay the course. That course, you're going to be off course 99% of the time. And that should be a relief to some of you, because most of us get really ashamed of ourselves the minute an obstacle shows up, or the minute we quit, or the minute we're off course. My promise to you is you're going to be off course, you're going to quit, you're literally going to quit, and you're going to have all kinds of obstacles. You're going to be off course 99% of the 20 years that you're headed to be the best. And all of a sudden on that day, you are the best. Isn't that weird for me to say? But that is exactly my experience the 4 times that I've attempted this, right? The 4 times I've attempted it, the whole 18, 17, 15-year journey to be the best safety, to be the best speaker, to be a best-selling author, to be the best playwright, all of those journeys were exactly the same. For the first 18, 15, 12 years, however long it took me, I was off course 99% of the time. But what I was good at was righting the ship. Understand this. If you and me rented a jet airplane today and we all got in it and we were going to fly to Hawaii, from Los Angeles to Hawaii, the pilots would get that jet up in the air from leaving Los Angeles. Once it was at its altitude, they would put it on automatic pilot and they would eat their lunch and they would visit with passengers or whatever they were doing. The 99% of the time, that jet going to Hawaii on automatic pilot is off course. 99% of its time. The automatic pilot is a self-righting mechanism that keeps it on course 1% of the 5 hours it takes to get there. And that jet lands within an inch of the spot that it's supposed to land on, although it's for 5 hours, it's been off course for 99% of the 5 hours.
Yes.
Same is true for you. Your only job at that point is to right the ship, no different than a self-righting mechanism in an automatic pilot. The problem is, Tommy, everybody quits because they get ashamed of themselves for being off course. Well, what if the jet did that? What if the jet's going, okay, I'm off course. Oh, I quit, right in the Pacific Ocean. That's what everybody does. I don't do that. My clients, my kids, they don't do that. They're not ashamed. They expect to be off course. The only problem with this, Tommy, is people believe because society tells them that if you're off course, oh, that's a shameful thing. You should just quit. And that's just wrong.
So true, man. And I love that because, again, it goes back to expectations. If I expect every part of my journey to be smooth and linear and on track, and I'm going to feel on fire all the time and motivated towards my declaration, and it's setting us up for failure. And what you're saying is that you can be off track and you're going to wind up in the same place. Now, when we're off track, somebody out is listening and they're off track right now. They're feeling off track and they're understanding this. What are some of the ingredients, some of the mindsets and or practical tools that they're going to need to remind themselves of this concept when they're off track? Because you and I know when we're off track, it can be vulnerable and we can be exposed to other people's mindsets, and they can say something like, yeah, that market is so saturated, or it's so hard to build a business right online, or, all of that stuff. And if we're vulnerable and we're off track, which means our reality isn't proving our vision to come true yet, then we can say, yeah, maybe they're right. Maybe I should get realistic. Maybe I should go back to that safe haven. Maybe I should do the things that everybody else wanted me to do. How do we cultivate faith and trust on the journey?
Yeah, I cover this in deep detail, as you know, in the book, and give you action steps to actually do that. But I'll tell you this right now here on the podcast you have to know what's in front of you. This declaration that you're going to be the best in the world at this thing, whatever that is the only thing you are loyal to from this day forward, right? Mm-hmm. So you and I have a lot of false loyalties, like to friends who are naysayers, to a party. We're loyal to drinking at the bar with our buddies and distracting ourselves with video games. We have all kinds of these false loyalties to things that keep us off course and don't let us get back on course. The Declaration is no different than the Declaration of Independence. It rights the ship each minute of each day, because the Declaration declares, I'm going to be the best in the world at safety, at playwriting, at whatever it is. That is what you are loyal to. So listen, those of you who are married, right? those of you who are married, is every minute of every day of all the years of your marriage, are those like the most perfect, blissful times ever? No. Talk to anybody who's married, and that's not the case. But what is the commitment? What is the commitment? The ring says, the ring never ends, right? So the ring never ends. And so marriage says, death do you part. I remember the preacher man saying that to my wife and I, till death do you part. So that's the commitment. That's the declaration. So in a 47-year marriage, how often is that marriage off course? 99% of the time, but the commitment is what you're loyal to. You might be in an argument with your wife or your husband. You might hate them in this minute, but the commitment remains, which is the marriage holds. I'm committed to the marriage. You have to think of it in those terms, and you can't just expect this to be easy. When people enter marriages where they go, well, marriage is just going to be easy. I love marriage. It's going to be blissful every day for the next 47 years. They're full of it. They're not entering that marriage with any kind of sense of reality, right? You have to have the same toward your declaration, the same kind of commitment, the same kind of loyalty. And that is what always rights the ship. So my kids right now are going through this because I have a son just turned 13 the other day, right? And if you've read the book, you know he's got an outrageous commitment.
That's awesome.
That no one's ever done. So his commitment might as well be this. I'm going to be the first man to walk on Pluto. So that might as well be his dream because no one's ever done that, right? So I have to constantly remind him because he's a kid. He made it when he was 6, but he's been training to fulfill on this dream. He has to constantly remind himself, and I constantly have to remind him of what is he loyal to? Is he loyal to this commitment? This dream of maybe being the greatest athlete to ever walk this planet? Or is he committed to distractions like video games? Or is he committed to birthday parties? Is that his dream? Did any kid at 7 years old wake up one morning and go to their mom and dad and go, Mom, Dad, I want to be the best birthday attender in the world? No one's ever said that, right? So that's not a reality. They end up going to a lot of birthday parties because they don't have a dream.
Yes.
They end up playing video games because they're distracted because they don't have a dream. They don't have a declaration. The declaration, think of it, the Declaration of Independence in America, you and me have lived that thing out, and everybody for the last 250 years has brought that thing into existence. It's a document that guys wrote 250 years ago that you and me don't know. They wrote it, they declared our freedom, and now you and me live it into existence day in and day out. And so does everybody who's passed and died in the last 250 years. And how many people are going to come behind us and fulfill on that declaration? Well, not every single minute of every single day are we thinking about freedom, but we express it with the way we move and the way we talk and the way we get to do this podcast. We're expressing that document. We're bringing the Declaration of Independence into existence by being on this podcast and having the freedom to do that. That's why a declaration is powerful. We're just loyal, falsely loyal to the wrong things that keep us distracted and keep us mediocre.
Academy Nation will be right back with that amazing conversation, but today I wanted to share something that's been changing my game with my focus, my productivity, my energy, and really just my daily clarity and performance, and that is 4 Sigmatic Mushroom Coffee Mix. It has lion's mane, which is something that the Buddhists have used for focus during meditation. It has shaga mushroom, but it tastes incredible, and Taylor and I have been going deep on this the last few months, and it's such a cool company, and it's all natural. And for me personally, I can't do intense caffeine because I get anxious, I get jitters. I have found my sweet spot for performance, for focus, and just for like that, you know, that like level-headed focus that's like you're very focused, but you're also zen. this is what I'm using. And guys, they have an amazing offer, 15% off anything in their store. And the mushroom coffee with lion's mane, that's only $15. So people ask me all the time, what are you using? What are your favorite products? This is it. Go check it out at 4 Sigmatic. That's 4 SIGMATIC/resist. And when you go into your checkout, type resist, you'll get 15% off your order. You'll create a level of clarity and focus with this amazing superfood. Again, it's lion's mane mushroom coffee by 4 Sigmatic. I love that, and if you get clear and committed on the declaration, the distractions become easier to say no to. I remember listening to an interview with Kobe Bryant, and he was talking about how when his declaration was, "I'm going to be the best ever," and he would get invited to Las Vegas. He was 20 years old, had millions of dollars in his account. All teammates were going to Las Vegas to party. And he was asked on an interview recently how he was able to say no, and he's like, it was easy. I wanted to practice. I wanted to be the first one in the gym. I was committed to being the best in the world. It was so easy to say no. But when we don't have a declaration and clarity around that, then it's very easy to say yes to everything because we have no real backbone.
You're distracted by everything because you're not loyal to anything. You stand for nothing. Therefore, anybody can distract you. I can shake a little shiny object and get you to look at it. Well, Kobe Bryant ain't looking at that shiny object. He's in the gym. You know what I mean? And here's what's cool. Here's what's cool about distractions too. Kobe's a great example. In fact, I won't do this online, but maybe sometime when we're having another conversation, I'll tell you a story about Kobe and my son. Like, my son got to train with him and work with him.
Oh, awesome.
Just, a couple of months ago. And what's funny about it is there's only 2 basketball players that he compares himself to. And he was way too young to watch Michael Jordan play, right? But he's the only one he watches and compares himself to. He has to look at grainy videos. And Kobe Bryant. And Kobe Bryant, sure enough, sees my son at the age of 11 and goes, "Hey, how would you like to come train with me?" And my son does and gets to train with him and work with him. And, that's a dude who is not distracted. Even let's think about this. We're in the middle of Staples Center, or rather he's in wherever, Boston, playing against the Celtics, and everybody in the Garden in Boston is booing him, is shaking sticks at him, and he's at the free throw line with 1 second left to get in the game, and he has to make the 2 free throws to win the game. And there's all kinds of distractions coming his way, right? He still puts the ball in the basket, and he knows that they're distracting. He can hear them. He can smell the popcorn. He can see those banners waving. He can hear the crowd. But he's loyal not to the crowd's opinion of him. He is loyal to his commitment to be the best. So he's able to focus on the commitment instead of being distracted by all these things. Same is true for you. The only problem you have probably is you don't have a plan A.
Yes.
You don't have a declaration. That's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. Because then we can control our most prized assets, which are our time, our energy, our attention, our focus, and put them in the right places that are going to feed that declaration and bring it life. You talk a lot about environment, which I absolutely agree with. Love Ben Hardy's work. Yeah. The fastest way to change your behavior is to insert yourself in environments that model that behavior and basically force you to level up or leave. One of the things that I love to do is to put myself in uncomfortable rooms time and time again. Go to a gym that's uncomfortable, a boxing gym that I've never done anything, where I feel a little bit heart palpitation when I walk in. I don't know what I'm doing, even though I have a decade of training under my belt. Or in rooms of entrepreneurs who are making 2, 5, 10x more than I am, that the conversations are going to be higher level. And there's a part of me that says, do I really belong here? But through that questioning, I through osmosis, I find my place, and then I level up with the same mindsets and behaviors. How important is putting ourselves in uncomfortable rooms as we continue to grow in pursuit of our declaration, Bo? Yeah, you've got to do it, and it's no fun. You just have to surrender to the fact. It doesn't feel good, right? To the ego. It doesn't, but there's something very
titillating almost about being in there, even though I'll give you a great example. So my son's speed coach is a guy named Leroy Dixon, who's a world-class sprinter. In fact, he's the 7th fastest man in the history of the world, okay? So the 7th fastest man ever recorded in the 100 meters. So Usain Bolt is the fastest man in the history of our planet. So think about that. Not just right now on the planet,
yes,
in the history of our planet. He's the fastest man ever recorded. My guy, the guy who trains my son, has beat Usain Bolt 3 times. And he's the 7th fastest man ever recorded. When you're next to him, his name's Leroy. When you're next to Leroy, look, I've been around speed my whole life after playing in the NFL. I love speed. I'm very fast. My son is fast. When you train with Leroy and run next to him, it is the most humiliating thing you can ever imagine. Because at one time, I was a world-class speedster, right? And to be humiliated so bad running next to him is a shock to the system. But I just want to tell you this. As soon as somebody is like that around you, now you can I'm using speed as an example, sure, but we could use money, we could use business size, we could use marriage, we could use any area. So substitute whatever your area is from the story of speed. When you're around somebody that is that fast and that explosive, you can feel it in your body. Isn't that strange to say? You can feel your body, and you don't know what you're feeling, but you're feeling like a tingle, and you're feeling afraid, but you're feeling courage at the same time, like you keep going, even though you're afraid. That, you know what I call that? That's the only natural thing that us human beings have, and it's the only thing that us human beings are the best in the world at in the history of our planet. We are the best at adaptation. We are the best, I'll repeat that, we're the best at adaptation. And this is the reason we're on this planet and dinosaurs are not. Everyone else who can't adapt fast enough, whether it be human or animal or insect, if they can't adapt fast enough, they are eliminated. You and me are still here. We are the best at adaptation. Our ancestors were the best at adaptation, meaning putting ourselves in a demanding situation and struggling. And then our bodies and our brains adapt to that new demanding situation, and now we become faster or smarter, or we make more money, or we get better at speaking, whatever it is. My dad used to call this walking in tall cotton. You always want to walk in tall cotton. He was around cotton farming when he was a kid. He said the saying was, boy, you're walking in tall cotton now, meaning you're outkicked your coverage, you're playing above your pay grade. That's where you must live to be the best. Because guess what happens when you're running next to the 7th fastest man in the world? Your body will survive. Your body will adjust and adapt, and all of a sudden, you're faster. What if I stayed inside my comfort zone? What if my son stayed inside his comfort zone and we worked out with slower people than us?
Yes.
People who ran slower than us. And we could beat them every time. Are we going to improve?
No way. The ego will it, but you'll be the best. You'll be the best at being mediocre because you won't get to the next level. Exactly. Tommy just named it. So if we have this commitment of my son being the best athlete in 12 years now, is he going to be the best athlete on the planet in 12 years if he wins every race that he's in?
No, no way. He's got to get his butt kicked until his body says, to hell with me getting my butt kicked anymore. I'm leveling up. I'm going to adapt just like my ancestors adapt. And I'm going to survive just like my ancestors survived. You're on this planet for a reason. You're the best at adaptation. You have to remember that and know that as soon as you're in that struggle and you want to quit, you know you're right on the brink of going over the top. But that's usually, guys, where people quit. Right when that struggle shows its fire-breathing dragon head, we quit. We just stop.
I know. And that's the tragedy, right? That's why I have my studio here is full of books, and one of them is the book 3 Feet from Gold, and it's about that principle. It's about we can be in a momentary breakdown, and if we don't keep going, we'll never experience the breakthrough on the other side. And to me, that's the great tragedy of there's a lot of people that have quit things that they were just about to experience a breakthrough, a new level, but they didn't keep going, and they really missed out. And that to me is as tragic as it gets.
Oh man, that's like when you're one step from the peak at Mount Everest.
Yes.
And you just go, I pulled my hamstring. I don't think I can make it.
It's so true. You talked about adaptation, which I couldn't be more in agreement with. Now, adaptation can also work in the opposite way, right? It's like we can adapt to mediocrity in a sense. So if we don't put ourselves in environments that are propelling us, and we stay in those environments where we're, let's just say somebody out there has a dream to do something on their own, to run their own business, to have the autonomy and the freedom and the prosperity, but they're hanging out with everybody who's in a corporate career or going to happy hour all the time with that. So they adapt to that environment. And so they start to they can listen to the podcast, they can read the books, they can even make moves on their dream and the declaration. But if their environment is saying things like, the economy is never going to get better, or there's going to be a downturn, or, entrepreneurship is for people who are crazy, or whatever the narratives are, they're going to adapt to that environment. And I find that super dangerous, that if we're in the wrong environments, that are taking us away from our dream, if we stay there long enough, we'll actually start to adopt their mindsets, and then that's when we're going to give up on our dream.
Yeah, I love that example that you used, and I love this study that they did about people trying to lose weight. And if you're around a bunch of people who are overweight, obviously they're overeating, right? And if that's in your environment, then you're not going to lose weight, regardless of what you do, because your environment is such of a bunch of people that overeat and don't exercise. So you're around a bunch of people who are 300-400 pounds, you won't lose the weight either, but you have to shift your environment so that you're around people, and it's going to be embarrassing at first, right? They're in shape, they're committed to eating healthy and working out. You got to be around them, and then watch the pounds fall off. Watch your habits start to shift only based on the environment that you're in. That's why I always put my son and my daughters in the environment that they dream of. So I put them around Kobe Bryant or a Tom Brady. You see what I mean? If that's what he wants to be, I'm not going to put him in front of some mediocre quarterback, right? Because that's what he's going to become.
Yes.
I put him in front of the best quarterback or the best basketball player, and that's what he becomes. Because once you're around that environment, you recognize and you see that they're only people just like you. But at first you don't recognize that because you're watching them on TV or you got their bubblegum card. So you think they're a god. They're not a god. They're a human being. And once you shake their hand and you go, oh, you're just a dude like me, you realize I got what they got. I can do this thing.
Yes, it's so true. I love that. And what you said there about being embarrassed, being willing. It's just an ego thing. It's the humility of dropping our ego and putting ourselves in situations where our skill isn't where it needs to be because we're adapting to this new normal, this new environment, and being able to stick through it and not let our ego get in the way. Because the ego, to me, is going to say, you know what, go back to the training facility where you kick everyone's ass. Go back to the business, the mastermind where you make the most money. Go back to the training circle where you're the most clear speaker. Go back to Toastmasters where you crush the speaking but never leave that environment, right? It's like the ego is going to pull us back into that comfort zone. So we have to be very conscious and very open and be just willing to not have that skill level and be open enough to acquire that skill level and stay long enough until that becomes our new normal. So it's basically we're becoming rookies over and over again, which it can seem daunting, but just like you said, the energy is pure raw potential, which can turn into something beautiful.
Yeah. And then, I once had a mentor that just told me once something really simple, but it stuck with me forever. He goes, the best always put themselves at the bottom of the next mountain.
Ooh,
they don't hang out. They don't hang out at the top. They don't hang there. They don't celebrate. If you notice, every time Michael Jordan, won a championship, he won 6, right? If you look, I know that you have this image of him jumping up and down and winning, right? How long do you think he celebrated that championship?
Yeah.
How long? Do you think it was 30 seconds? Do you think it was a minute and a half? As soon as he got where the cameras couldn't see him anymore in the locker room, I guarantee you he bowed his head and he said, oh, shit. Now, how am I going to do? What am I going to do now?
Yes.
And I guarantee you, in a minute and a half after each one of those championships, he was thinking, how am I going to get ready for the next?
Yes.
That's what the best always do. They put themselves at the bottom of the next mountain. You have to struggle because it's the only way to adapt. It's the only way to improve.
Yeah. It's like Nick Saban at Alabama. He wins a championship, and the next morning he's at the office at 5 a.m. because it's and
he's probably pulling his hair out, going, damn, I just won the national championship, but what am I doing now? What am I going to do next year?
Exactly. It's hunger that you can't it comes from within, and we got to extract it. Bo, there's no plan B for your A game. I love it because we live in a world telling us, hey, chase your dream, but then have a backup plan and have this and have
right.
this. And we know, just like you said, it's human nature. Our backup plan, let's face it, for a lot of people, and this was for me going down a road in my life, in the wrong industry, in the wrong life, if that wasn't for me, where for a lot of people, their plan C becomes their life legacy. That they get to 77, 87, whatever it is, and they look back and they say, was that my life or was that somebody else's plan A? Was that my real heart-centered plan A or was that somebody else's? And that to me is a question I never want to answer with saying that it wasn't mine. I'd rather live my plan A full out and be in the arena with blood, sweat, tears, and whatever, than be on plan B or plan C or somebody else's. So Bo, thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your passion. The book is fantastic. We've been giving out, we're going to give out 5 copies for anybody that listens to the Academy, tags Bo on Instagram with your number 1 takeaway. And maybe you have the courage to declare what you're going to be the best in the world at because of this podcast. And I will send you a book. Where can people connect with you, Bo?
Yeah, I would go to learn more about the book, boeasonbook.com, boeasonbook.com. And we also have some great gifts to give to people, like a companion workbook that goes along with the book, and a private Facebook group, and some trainings that other people don't get. So boeasonbook.com, pick up the book, and I'll be happy to help you with your declaration and get you to the place you need to be.
Love that, Bo. We're going to get you out on this. When you hear the phrase resist average, what comes to your mind?
We just talked about, the first thing that came to mind, we just talked about, is being at the bottom of that next mountain and looking up that mountain sign going, oh shit, here we go again, right?
Yes.
And that's the story of my life. And if that's the story of your life, that is one hell of an honorable life.
Mic drop. Bo Eason on the Academy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow, another awesome Resist Average Academy podcast. Thank you so much for being here. And it's Tommy, and I just wanted to say thank you. I know you have endless opportunities and endless choices when it comes to podcasts. And the fact that you chose the Academy tells me everything I need to know about who you are and what you're committed to creating in your life. If this resonated, I ask you take 60 to 90 seconds, go to iTunes on desktop or mobile, search the Resist Average Academy podcast, leave us a 5-star review. We are working hard to increase our exposure, and this is the #1 way that you can support the mission. So head over to iTunes now, take the 60 seconds, tag a friend when you resonate and connect with an episode. It would mean the world. I want to thank you for being on board on the Academy.